This is the brand new budget case from Corsair, the Corsair 3200D. And oh boy, do we have a lot to talk about. The base version that includes 3 Corsair RS 120 fans costs just £70 or $80 in the US. But if you want to upgrade those fans to ARGB like we have here, that's an extra £10 or $10 upgrade. That's fair, I can accept that. But that means the version that I have here is an £80 or $90 case. So it should be treated as such. And for that kind of money, you're getting brand new features like USB 2.0, cheap floppy dust filters, and an elegant all-plastic front panel. Jokes aside, the Corsair 3200D is actually not that bad. It just has a poor price point. If you received it as part of a pre-built system, for example, you probably wouldn't complain. Well, at least until you try and plug something into that USB port at the front. Aside from that, the case is probably fine if it was priced closer to $60 with the ARGB fans. Now, regardless of brands like Lee or Fantex, and especially ones like Montech, let's focus solely on Corsair's own cases that the 3200D will be competing with. Up first, we have the Corsair 3500X, a striking case featuring a all-metal and glass design, priced at £85 with RGB fans or £70 without. The Corsair Frame 4000D, which has received positive reviews and is pretty well built after some fixes to the flimsy rear panels, and this case costs kind of about the same for both RGB and non-RGB versions as the 3200D. My biggest issue with this case is its price. It's comparable to many excellent cases, so it raises the question, why even consider it? Well, maybe the 3200D has one big redeeming factor that makes it a viable option. So I guess we should start with the design. As I mentioned, the front panel is made entirely of plastic, something you'd expect with a $50 case, but the design is an interesting one. The lines and curves offer something different to Corsair cases we've seen, and it reminds me a lot of the Fractal Torrent, which can only be a good thing. But I just can't shake the feeling that it looks as if someone has just gone along and punched the front panel inwards. Like, my fist just fits perfectly into the middle of this thing. Above the front panel, you have the I/O that includes a clicky power switch, a combo audio jack, a USB Type-C 20 gigabit per second port, and the abysmal USB 2.0 port. Now, the reason for the USB 2 port is likely to save on costs, but it could be also because the 3200D supports rear connect motherboards. A USB 2.0 connector is much smaller than a USB 3 one, so installing one might have been impossible with like some kind of right-angled adapter or cable. Personally, I don't think every new case needs to support these motherboards. You just end up with dead empty holes around the board, no grommets to plug them, and it just looks a little bit untidy. Not to mention there are so few rear connect boards available, so why should every case compromise to support these rear connect boards? Now, don't get me wrong, I love the look of the BTF and Project Zero boards, and I just wish there was more variety at different price points. But what's the point in buying a $200 to $300 motherboard that you can't even use the USB 3.0 ports it supports because of your case? Corsair has a few options here. Upgrade the cable to a USB 3 and include an adapter in the box, make the case a little bit wider, which obviously would be a lot more tooling and work, or remove support for rear connect motherboards, or, you know, just make the case dirt cheap. Moving on and looking at the side of the chassis, the rear panel covering the motherboard features a large Y-shaped symbol pressed into it. Some may appreciate the design, but it's mainly there to reinforce the kind of very thin side panel. Plus, it will actively reduce space for cramming cables inside. Kind of another point as to why bother with a rear connect board. On top of the case, we have a floppy magnetic dust filter. Again, these aren't exactly a bad thing, just something that's usually found on cheaper cases. Underneath that filter though, there is ample open airflow, allowing air to easily rise out of the chassis. On the topic of dust filters, Corsair, what is this absolute garbage? The PSU dust filter is actually pathetic. This kind of design is reserved for like cases from 15 years ago or something that costs $30 to $40. Reminder, at launch, this case is $90 with these RGB fans. Even for $80 with the non-RGB fans, it's still a joke. On the plus side, the included case feet are tall, so you get at least a decent amount of airflow to come in the bottom of the chassis. The tempered glass panel is held in place during transit with a single screw, but once removed, it allows for toolless maintenance over the case's lifetime. There's a lot of cute little yellow accents dotted around on the captive thumb screws, giving the case a little bit more flair, which together makes the case look a bit more premium than it feels. Now, we've discussed the flaws of this case a lot, and once you remove the panels, get inside and take a closer look, you start to see some of the 3200D's positives. Once inside, we can take a closer look at the included Corsair RS 120 fans, which are actually high quality fans. They move a lot of air, diffuse the light well, and don't require any proprietary Corsair hardware, just simple 4-pin PWM and 3-pin ARGB daisy chain connectors. It's not pretty, but it's functional. A big bonus is that if you want to add more case fans that match, you can just buy some. No weird sizes that you can't actually buy and don't match anything. No case-only fan options, as some companies offer. You can just pick up a pack of RS 120s, throw them in, plug them into your existing fans, and everything just works. Along the PSU shroud, the 3200D supports two 120mm fans to improve airflow to the GPU, with one of them angled toward the GPU for better airflow. One of these is positioned directly above the PSU, so it contributes very little to airflow, and there are no intake vents on either side of the case, unlike a Corsair Frame 4000D, so you've got that kind of ventilated side panel at the bottom. So the basement fans will rely solely on that airflow from below or on some redirected airflow from the front. Due to that angled front fan bracket, it seems Corsair decided to not include a hard drive cage in the basement below. As a result, if you do have a hard drive, feel free to mount it to the chassis frame and enjoy those micro vibrations. As I mentioned earlier, this case is BTF Project Zero Project Stealth compatible, which means there are plenty of cutouts around the motherboard. This also results in many open holes and spots where your subpar cable management at the back is visible from the front. I'm a big fan of kind of grommets or clever ways to hide cables, but besides the cable bar on the right hand side of the motherboard, there isn't much else to kind of keep your PC looking neat from the front. If you keep things very much plain and simple like I have, it's fine. But if you want to start adding cable extensions, maybe you do have some SATA SSDs and SATA cables, things can start to get a little bit messy. Oh, and I also forgot one last thing to mention is that there is a GPU support arm which you can easily use to adjust your GPU and keep it nice and level. Now let's discuss compatibility, the facts and figures. The Corsair 3200D can support up to 9 120mm fans. At the front, you can install up to 3 120 or 2 140mm fans, along with a radiator up to 200 or 360mm. The top of the case offers the same kind of flexibility, though depending on your motherboard, RAM height, radiator thickness, and fan placement, fitting a 360mm radiator like I have could be an absolute nightmare. Even a 280mm cooler will complicate installing the CPU fan cables and CPU power cables because it's just wider than what I have here, so physically getting your fingers in there is a little bit awkward. And the 360mm radiator was just such a challenge to fit, period. If you want pipes at the front, you can't because they conflict with the fans at the front. And then I realized, the pipes kind of block the back and I can't put a fan at the rear. I think you could technically squeeze one in if you're happy to bend those pipes quite hard, and maybe a different cooler where the pipes might go in at a different place, you might get better luck. But, with a Corsair cooler and a Corsair case, they're just not compatible, which is kind of silly. When it comes to your main components though, the case provides 370mm of clearance for the GPU with front fans installed, which opens up to 400mm if the fans are removed, but I'm not sure who's going to buy this case that includes the fans and then take them out to fit a bigger GPU. Just buy a bigger case, that would be my suggestion. For those of you going down the air cooler route, 165mm of vertical height is available, which covers most large tower coolers on the market. In the basement, the power supply shroud accommodates units up to 180mm in length and is designed to be compatible with Corsair's Shift series power supplies. Though I actually did use a Shift PSU here and I massively regret it. There's so much dead space at the front of the case that a normal PSU would just kind of overflow into, and it would just make much more sense. When it comes to storage, the options are pretty straightforward. We've got two dedicated 2.5-inch SSD mounts behind the motherboard tray and a single 3.5-inch hard drive mount on the floor of the case. If you aren't using a mechanical drive, that floor mount can be used for a third SSD mount if you wanted. Now it's time for my favorite part, cable management. As a bit of an OCD cable management nerd, I really love a good rear board layout. The 3200D is actually surprisingly solid. When it comes to managing those cables, you have 24mm of depth behind the motherboard tray. While this is a standard amount of room for a traditional build, it is worth noting that this case is meant to be compatible with reverse connect boards. In practice, 24mm can be quite tight for those rear mounted connectors, likely the reason we're missing a USB 3.0 port at the front. For comparison, a case like the Corsair 3500X offers 38mm of depth, which is much more practical for the extra bulk of a reverse connect setup. For the front I/O and fan cables, Corsair has included basic twist ties to help keep things organized, though it would have been nice if Corsair could have thrown in a couple more Velcro straps. Along the top of the case, the cutouts for a rear connect board do actually come in handy for managing fan and ARGB cables, but it's also pretty messy up there. And without using a lot of cable ties, you'll struggle to keep it neat. Fortunately, there's plenty of tie-down points across the rear of the motherboard tray, so the options are there if you want them. I do appreciate the ease of hiding an 8-pin CPU cable if you've got this kind of flat cable design, though a neat little clip here would have been a nice touch for thicker cables or if you're using extensions. But for this setup that I have, it looks really clean. To really push this system to the limit, I started with the MSI Combustor CPU burner test in a 23-degree ambient room. I first ran a balanced profile at 40 dBA. The CPU hit a peak of 82 degrees, averaging out at 79.8 degrees. Totally safe, but it's definitely working pretty hard for it. Next, I wanted to see what happens when we prioritize performance over noise, and I cranked these RS 120 fans straight up to 100%. and these things get pretty loud, over 50 dBA. For the CPU burner test, the payoff wasn't even huge. We only saw the peak drop to 79.1 degrees Celsius with an average of 78.1. But nobody just runs stress tests all day. So let's look at Cyberpunk at 4K Ultra settings for a real kind of gaming load. The GPU peaked at 68.5 degrees Celsius with an average of 65.8. And the CPU stayed much cooler than the burner test, averaging just 55.9 and peaking at 63 degrees. However, the 100% fan speed really improved things for the gaming load. We dropped the peak GPU temp by 3.5 degrees, down to 65, with an average of 63. As for the CPU during the gaming test, it peaked at 55.5, with an average of 51.1. A little more realistic than the near 80 degrees we saw under the CPU burner test. I was curious though, and Corsair did send out some extra RS 120 fans, so I wanted to see how much difference it actually makes by putting some of those fans underneath the GPU. Well, in the CPU burner test, the CPU peaked at 79.3 degrees, with an average of 78.2. Basically no change, but it's to be expected. I was kind of curious to see if it would help nonetheless. Now the gaming tests are where I was expecting some changes. With 100% fan speed on all 5 case fans, the GPU peaked at 62.6 degrees and averaged 55.8 degrees. While the peak didn't come down by much, the average fell massively from 63 to 55.8 degrees. And don't forget, we're actually missing an exhaust fan at the rear of the case. Adding one of them could improve things further. And for those of you who are interested, here's a quick noise test of the stock case fans at different speeds. So where does the Corsair 3200D actually sit? To be honest, it's a perfectly okay case. It's a functional case that gets the job done, but at its current launch price for £80 or $90 for the RGB version, it is an extremely tough sell. The main issue for the 3200D is that it's competing against its own family members. For roughly the same money, you can get a 4000D frame or the 3500X. Both cases are objectively better built, look nicer, and offer better cable management. Most importantly, they swap out the plastic for metal and glass. They include proper USB 3.0 ports, which are very much strangely missing here. And when you look outside of the Corsair ecosystem, the value of this just gets even harder to justify. In the UK right now, you can currently get the Montec Sky 2 GX on a steal at Scan for around £45 to £50. And that case is built way better in almost every way, including 3 140mm fans, a dedicated fan and RGB hub, a hinged glass panel, and it cost nearly half the price. Or the Lancall 207, another great case for just £65 or $75, and these include RGB fans. When the price of this thing inevitably drops down, it might be worth considering it a bit more seriously, but as of right now, Corsair just has so many better cases that they sell themselves for the same price. Not to mention your Montecs and Fantecs and all that kind of stuff. So for me, at the launch price, it's a definitive avoid unless you're absolutely in love with the design of this plastic front panel. Yes, the airflow out of the box might be pretty solid, and you can improve things with those fans down the bottom, but at that point, you're spending even more money. You could just go and buy a better case with more fans and USB 3.0 ports. Anyway guys, that brings us to the end of the video. What do you think? Have I been too harsh on this case? Could you see yourself grabbing the Corsair 3200D? If you've enjoyed this video guys, feel free to click that like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you want to check out the 3200D or any of the products I've used inside this system, check the description for our affiliate links. I'll catch you in the next one guys. Cheers.